You're watching the New Killer series. Today we're going to speculate the next licensed chapter to come into DVD. We've got some big names, big reputations still out there, and based on the evidence in licensed situations, some of the properties are more likely than the others. How's it going, guys? My name is Schmuckles. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. We've got a lot of content in this one. Also, I stream on Twitch on Wednesday and Sunday nights. The link is in the description below for that. We're going to go over a list of the most likely licensed killers for the next licensed chapter in DVD. But before we do that, I wanted to mention some killers that aren't on the list. There's no Jason Voorhees. That lawsuit is still dragging on. It's completely frozen right now. If you want to know more about Jason in the DVD licensing situation, you can click on the title above. Pennywise isn't on the list because Stephen King and Warner Bros. Haven't been willing to share the license. I also don't have Chucky on the list. He wasn't an option in that satisfaction survey. If you haven't seen that video where we covered every licensed killer on Behavior's radar, make sure to check it out. Jeepers Creepers was nowhere on this list either. The Creeper isn't on my list because of the controversy surrounding the license. That being said, every killer we speculate except one will have been mentioned previously on the satisfaction survey. So licenses like Predator, The Nun, The Babadook, and The Alien are all possibilities for sure. But there's no evidence of Behavior chasing any of these licenses other than the satisfaction survey, and it really feels like video game licenses are easier to attain and implement than movie licenses. The Resident Evil chapter has been a massive success. From this collaboration between Capcom and Behavior, we've learned two things. The first is that Dead by Daylight timed the Resident Evil chapter with a giant Resident Evil event and video game release. So the next licensed chapter might be timed with a giant movie release or a giant video game release. And second, video game collaborations are very successful and grow DVD numbers. The day that Resident Evil hit the PTB, we saw the highest player count that we've ever seen. Then when Chapter 20 was dropped on June 15th, we broke the in-game player count record again. For Silent Hill, we saw tremendous growth in the DVD player base, and obviously the same thing is happening for Resident Evil right now as well. That being said, some of the killers on the list are video game licenses. I have to think that DVD will see the success from Silent Hill and maybe opt to focus more on video game licenses because it's growing DVD. So licenses like BioShock, Until Dawn, and The Last of Us are legitimate possibilities. Every horror video game franchise will know about the DVD Resident Evil collaboration. In a way, Resident Evil has sort of validated these types of negotiations. It's kind of a bummer because we haven't seen a movie license since Stranger Things in September of 2019. When I asked you which license you'd like to see, it seems like a lot of my subscribers like movie licenses above everything else. These numbers don't necessarily represent the entire DVD community since a lot of my subscribers came into the channel to see my movie license videos. If we were to do this poll for the entire DVD community, I'm pretty sure the percentage of people who want movie licenses would be lower than my subscriber base. Another thing we need to keep in mind is that the roadmap is entirely planned right now.
But something that I can say is we are going to release a total of 4 killer, 5 and not 4 survivors, and also 2 new maps.
So Springtrap from Fanaf isn't on my list. Obviously, Scott Cawthon just retired and this was massive news, but before he retired, Scott was hesitant to share the Fanaf franchise. Since the roadmap is already planned for the next year and Cawthon said that he's got no collaborations lined up, it seems unlikely that Springtrap's going to be the next licensed killer. Now, of course, Cawthon could have been trolling us by telling us that he's got no collaborations lined up for this year, and some people are speculating that a FNAF DVD chapter is secretly in the works behind the scenes. Especially since Steel Wool Studios is working on FNAF Security Breach, which is scheduled to release later this year. FNAF is one of the most hyped video game properties out there. Nonetheless, Springtrap isn't on my list. Going back to the 5-year, if there are any licensed deals coming to DVD this year, it's likely already planned out since they were able to tell us how many survivors and killers are coming. Obviously, they might have original chapters that they can substitute for licensed ones if negotiations fall through, but it really seems like the licensing deals for year 6 in DVD have already happened. We also could be in for 3 original chapters in the next year since Matthew Cote said there's 2 licensed killers a year maximum. Since we can expect 1 more map this year, it could be an all-kill map. During the release of Chapter 19, Dead by Daylight tweeted out, "There's no map this time, but we're not ruling out an all-kill themed map for the future." Pinhead is another legitimate possibility for the near future. Leaks by Daylight has speculated a Pinhead DBD chapter very soon. If DBD has closed the deal for Pinhead in the next year, they will have likely reached out to New World Pictures. This December, the creator of the Hellraiser franchise, Clive Barker, will get the rights back to the original Pinhead in the US. The video game rights will be torn between New World Pictures and Clive Barker this December. The Pinhead license is getting pretty messy, so unless they've already closed a deal, Behavior would likely struggle to license Pinhead soon. We're going to go over the top 5 options for the next licensed chapter that's most likely to come into DVD. As of this video, there haven't been any teasers or any other evidence than what I'm about to go over. Number 5 is Outlast. It's a single-player horror game that as of October 2016 has sold over 4 million copies. From this franchise, we could see Walrider or Chris Walker. Outlast is right up there with Resident Evil and Silent Hill as one of the biggest horror video game franchises out there. So this is going off the fact that Behavior has in the past showed that they like chasing giant horror video game franchises. We're on a video game licensed chapter streak at the moment, and a chapter like Outlast could further continue DBD in the direction it's already headed. The reason Outlast didn't break into the top 4 is because it wasn't on the satisfaction survey, which featured all of the licenses on Behavior's radar. Of course, that list wasn't absolute, but not seeing Outlast on that list definitely hurt its chances of coming into DBD for me. For 5, I was going in between Pinhead and Outlast. Number 4 is The Walking Dead. Some people think that The Walking Dead chapter will be timed with the release of the final season of The Walking Dead, which is 1 month before chapter 21, similar to how Resident Evil Village was 1 month before the Resident Evil chapter. Since The Walking Dead is ending soon, that might give AMC some motivation to share this license while it's a hot property. Kote has said that when approaching license holders, it's almost like a sales pitch. DBD needs to feel like the right fit for the license holders. With AI bots being implemented into DBD with the Resident Evil chapter and the tremendous success the chapter has seen, that might have set the stage for Behavior to approach AMC for a Walking Dead chapter. If not for chapter 21, this could be for the 6-year anniversary, so chapter 24. The reason Walking Dead is not higher than 4th on this list is because we can expect 1 survivor with each coming chapter for year 6. In a Walking Dead chapter, I'd expect to see 2 survivors, a girl and a guy, just like the other TV licensed chapter Stranger Things. There are so many characters and opportunities for legendary skins in this chapter. For example, we could see Rick and Michonne with Daryl and Maggie as legendaries. That being said, we could just see Rick with Negan, the governor, or Beta as the killer. It also could just be 1 survivor from The Walking Dead and then 1 original killer at a later time. It's what they did for Evil Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, even though there's so many killer possibilities from Left 4 Dead. Number 3 is Candyman. Kote has said that Candyman is one of the most requested killers out there other than Jason Voorhees. That being said, some people think that a Candyman chapter was planned for chapter 17, which would have been timed with the initial release date of the Candyman reboot on June 12th last year. But COVID kicked back the reboot to August 27, 2021, so there's speculation that the Candyman chapter has also been moved back to match the new release date of the Candyman reboot. This would mean Candyman for chapter 21, which is most likely mid-September. We went through a long stretch of original licenses, and it seems entirely possible that a licensed chapter was rescheduled or dropped from the rotation. This theory of rescheduling the Candyman chapter could explain that. I couldn't put Candyman higher on this list because it's been hyped for years and we haven't seen a Candyman chapter yet, so that means it's entirely possible that the license holders, Universal Studios, have already said no or just haven't responded to Behavior. Number 2 is the Keeper and Sebastian from The Evil Within. The Keeper is a tall, large-built humanoid character with big rubber boots, gloves, and an apron. He carries a large hammer and matches the Dead by Daylight horror aesthetic perfectly. He's reminiscent of Silent Hill 2's Pyramid Head. If the Keeper is too similar to Pyramid Head, then Ruvik could come in as the new killer in this chapter. This is another big horror video game franchise. This game was directed by Resident Evil series creator Shinji Mikami. Mikami actually left Capcom in Resident Evil in 2006, but I'm sure that it would be easy for Behavior to connect with Mikami based on their Resident Evil connections. The Evil Within is hitting the mark in a lot of right places. It's a video game franchise. Behavior is probably happy to license another video game chapter. This license also seems like it'd be easy to attain. Behavior has worked with 2 horror video game franchises already. Number 1 is Resident Evil Part 2. Since Resident Evil is one of the biggest horror franchises out there and a lot of people wanted to see more content from RE, I think it's possible that we see a Resident Evil Part 2 chapter. At the time of this video, there's no Ethan Winters, Mr. X, or Lady Dimitrescu in DBD. Whether we see more legendary skins like Albert Wesker for Nemesis or Chapter 21 as a new Resident Evil chapter, I'd consider both of these as the next licensed DBD content. There'd probably be no new map with more Resident Evil content. The community definitely wants to see Mr. X and Ethan Winters in DBD, and Behavior has already attained the license. The Resident Evil Chapter Part 2 could have been developed since the beginning of Behavior and Capcom's collaboration, which was approximately last summer in 2020. Not only would it be another huge chapter for DBD, a lot of licenses have been difficult to get, so the easiest part is already done, and Capcom was so willing to share this license. It could be as soon as Chapter 21, but they could save a chapter like this for after a couple original chapters. If Capcom had offered Mr. X and Nemesis into DBD, I think it's likely Behavior would have split this up into 2 different chapters. Which of these killers would you like to see? What are your theories on the next licensed chapter? Also, let me know if I missed any of the major licenses out there. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.